what's going on. So, I had someone bring up an interesting topic. What's the fastest way to enlightenment? And this is a good question. Subscribe to the channel. I didn't know I was going to do this video, but here we are, at least tonight. And don't forget to subscribe. So, now, the quickest way to enlightenment personally, because there's not one that's really quicker, because it's usually a gradual build of energy for you to hold that. So whatever increases your focus, your attention, or you could say concentration. In fact, awareness is a focal point, which equals enlightenment. Your awareness is stuck in your mind. That's why it goes all over the place and follows these thoughts. Getting integrated with them. I want to use a different word, but I can't think of how to say it. Integrally. And then they become together. The whole point of stuff like yoga, because yoga is a very broad term to me. I don't even necessarily, quote unquote, understand it. I mean, the least to say it means union, okay? It's just like saying exercise. But the whole point of them doing those methods, now there is specific things that do specific things. Of course there is, because you live in a specific body. And yoga matches to the body basically like a how-to manual. There is a how-to to an enlightenment. But let me tell you something. Most of the people that get enlightened naturally it doesn't happen like I just said. They build that energy up. And usually it, and to some degree, randomly happens. It's a sticky situation. But your train of thought is everything. Because the more you can focus, the more discrepancy that you'll have. And you'll be, see, your body basically puts awareness, everything, the whole world, your body puts it into a focal point. And when you're unconscious, you don't really have a focal point other than like the body and the senses, emotions, thoughts. Thoughts and emotions are actually physical things, because you can't necessarily touch them, but you can feel them. And so they do hold energy even though you can't see them. and your focal point's on there. So if you have anger, your anger is coming from somewhere. And that's why people, they get stuck on that focal point of anger, because it's where they unconsciously put their attention. So sorry about that. One of the best ways to quickly get enlightened would to hear information about watching your thoughts, because as soon as you jumpstart the whole system, you push the gears, just that little flick. This is why they say it gradually happens, because now you didn't know this before. It's not like it just happened to someone for hours, because it does, but those people are very special people and usually have past lives. That's where they get their karma from, that put them into that situation, but they don't know about it when it happens initially, and then they go on to find what happens. But they are still defining it logically. What happened is what happened. That's exactly what happened. There's not words to describe enlightenment, and there's no way to it. That's the hardest thing. Now, certain activities in yoga build that energy up to get you there, which is stillness, which is concentration, because you can't really have one without the other. You can't be still and not have concentration. You got to understand, they make it harder than it actually is, especially explaining. It can be hard to explain though, and that's where the guru, that's where the master, that's where the spiritual, God comes in, because not everybody explains things the same, and some aren't meant to do it either, but they know about it, might say something about it. So, because once you jumpstart, push the gears, watching your thoughts, and then you'll light the wick, and that moment will gradually increase. So that's why they say it happens gradually, because on some retrospective it does. And the people that it happens to, where they just sit there, which they call in India samadhi, the reason they just end up sitting there like a teenager, someone who doesn't know like spiritual stuff, they just end up sitting there without no mind, that hence no thoughts. They just sit there, and they might have been doing yoga, but they weren't looking for this, and it just happened to them. You see what I'm talking about? And they sit there for hours, days. Now that doesn't happen to barely anybody. It's very unlikely. Usually it happens in a flash, and the person catches it. You're basically catching like a net, like SpongeBob and Patrick. You're trying to catch this moment. Not only are you trying to hear about it, me telling you intellectually, you're trying to catch a moment of silence, of your own silence, what's around you, and then boom, once you catch it, you can hold on to it. It takes energy to hold on to it, because you can't be like super tired and do it. It's not possible. So there's a certain alpha wave that allows you into that existence. So when people do drugs, their mind gets out of the way most of the time. But seeing visual stimulations and stuff, it doesn't necessarily matter. What it's a feeling, and they feel the feeling, which it's very paradoxical, oxymoron, because it has nothing to do with sight. Enlightenment can get a blind person can get enlightenment. He has to see nothing. It's just a feeling. Anyways, that would be the first way. The second way, which is my personal way, and I've done this way, is the starve yourself, which is called fasting. So, you want to be nourished, though, when you do that. You don't already want to be skin and bones. So, what happens basically when you starve yourself, you are dying. You will die. Ironically, the closer you get to death, the more spiritual that you'll feel. But you have to be aware of it. So when you starve yourself and your body's still in good condition, you're not about to die of old age, because that's something different in itself. Your body will get you on a high, basically, and the longer you go into it, the more high you'll feel, basically. It's like an automatic giving. You can't mess it up. That's why I think it's the quickest way to enlightenment. Enlightenment can happen suddenly. It can. Most likely it's not. Especially the person looking for it. It's not how it works. The person who looks for it, ironically, doesn't get it. The person that they do eventually, because they're looking for it, obviously. The person that's not looking for it, it just like comes to them. And they may not know the words. They may not know about it. They might not even know it happened. And which that's the thing. Most people don't. And you don't, but you do want to become aware of it. You do want to become aware of it. So, like, the thing is about fasting is you're dying. Your spirit is going to keep lifting up. The body holds you down. Especially when you eat. It brings you back down. There's elements involved in it too. But you just keep going up. And you'll feel like real euphoric and high. You'll be able to see into the future. Be able to tell things. Probably be able to feel things more. But it can be a dangerous game. It can be addicting too. But to go into that, maybe up to like 7 days. It all depends on the person. But you can do a short test. And the main reason why this works is because it has to work. It's like a surefire thing for most people. But most people aren't going to do it. That's the thing. You can try this yourself. Don't eat for a day or 2 days. I would like to see 7 from a healthy person. If I was to tell somebody if they want to reach enlightenment, fast. But you can do a test where 1 or 2 days you don't eat. and see how much more clear your thinking is. Because clarity is what you want. This video is about to end. I will say one more thing. So, when you fast and quote unquote dying, you start to care about less things. Naturally. A smart man. Money, thoughts, people, because you're grasping on these things, actually making you stay here. Those thoughts actually anchor you down. They barely weigh anything, but they hold you down. Yes. Because somebody that's fully enlightened has no reason to be here because he's not holding on to anything. Everyone's here. 99% of people, maybe 97 people are here to reach full enlightenment. And they're here because of karmic stuff they've done, which is a big complex in itself. But they keep going in these cycles, holding on to these lifestyles and holding on to memories, thoughts, and emotions that keep them here. So when you die, if you're not free from those things, you create another reality so you get to experience those things until you very well overcome those things. Once you would complete that, then you would have your final union with God. Have a nice day. Subscribe to the channel. Thanks for tuning in. Hope those words help a little bit.